Today, today we're going to talk. Those of you who have not been with us continuously, uh, talking about a necessary healing and
Okay, unnecessary?
a
Thank you.
necessary healing.
Right.
It's the things that are going to come up to be dealt with when you start doing mindfulness. So, particularly last time we talked about emotions, now we're talking about the mind. There is a therapeutic dimension to spirituality because healing is a part of spirituality. It obviously has to be. Um, it's that often because we're only looking for calm and mindfulness is pushed, well, do it for your body, well, do it to relax and calm your mind, well, do it to regulate your vagus nerve. If that's all you're shopping for, you're going to miss 95% of what is available to you. So when you begin to open up, as we said last week, you begin to open up to a lifetime of accumulated sorrow that you didn't even know you were carrying. So we begin to see the tensions in the body. Last week we saw the griefs that we've held on to, the way they begin to surface. Today we're going to look at the mind. And um, Stephen Levine has this poem called Meditation Blues. He says, sometimes it breaks my heart to watch my mind. One of the most powerful lines he's ever written. It breaks my heart to watch my mind. Cold self-interest, insistent fear and judgment, whispered insults, vengeful fantasies, triumph and despair. A conditioned unfolding so impersonal, and yet we take it so personally. Sometimes aghast at the casual cruelty of even minor fears and celebrations. Sometimes it breaks my heart to watch my mind, and sometimes it stays broken long enough to touch even this pain with love. Sometimes the mercy washes even Mrs. Macbeth's hands, turns tragedy to grace and makes it all worthwhile. Sometimes it breaks my mind to watch my heart. Sometimes it breaks my mind to watch my heart. So we're taking these notes from Jack Kornfield, section in his book, A Path with Heart. He said, just as we heal the body and the heart through awareness, so we can heal the mind. Just as we learn about the nature and rhythms of sensations and feelings, so we can learn about the nature of thoughts. As we notice our thoughts in meditation, we discover that they are not in our control. We swim in an uninvited, constant stream of memories, of plans, of expectations and judgments, regrets. The mind begins to show how it contains all possibilities, often in conflict with each other. The beautiful qualities of a saint and the dark forces of a dictator and murderer. Out of these, the mind plans and imagines, creating endless struggles and scenarios for changing the world. And yet, at the very root of these movements of mind is a dissatisfaction. We seem to want both endless excitement and perfect peace. Instead of being served by our thinking, we are driven by it in many unconscious and unexamined ways. And while thoughts can be enormously useful and creative, most often they dominate our experience with ideas of likes and dislikes, of higher versus lower, of self versus other. They tell stories about our successes and failures, our plans, habitually reminding us of who and what we think we are. But this dualistic nature of thought is the root of our suffering. Whenever we think of ourselves as separate, fear and attachment arise. Hear that line. Whenever we think about ourselves as separate, fear and attachment arise. We grow constricted, and you'll begin to see this in your body. As this emerges, the constrictions start. We become defensive, we become ambitious, we become territorial. To protect the separate self, we push certain things away, while to bolster it, we hold other things and identify with them. Healing the mind takes place in two ways. In the first, we bring attention to the content of our thought and learn to redirect them more skillfully through practices of wise reflection. Through mindfulness, we can come to know and reduce the patterns of unhelpful worry and obsession. We can clarify our confusion and release destructive views and opinions. We can use cautious thought to reflect more deeply on what we value. Many Buddhist practices use the repetition of phrases to break through old destructive repetitious patterns of thought and effect change. However, even though we work to re-educate the mind, we can never be completely successful. I want you all to hear that, particularly you perfectionists, okay? You will never be successful at re-educating your mind. As I used to say in my 12-step things, we become entirely willing to have God remove our defects of character, but you're going to die with the same defects of character you sat down on your cushion with. In other words, these things are in your brain. It's how your brain has been conditioned. And it takes a massive amount of work to begin reconditioning that biocomputer. The mind seems to have a will of its own, no matter how much we try to redirect it. And Cornfield has a beautiful line. He says, your brain is going to generate thoughts, just like your liver generates enzymes, and the gallbladder generates bile, and your kidneys generate urine. That's what it does. To get mad at your brain for generating thoughts is a mistaken relationship to the mind, right? Which is why we call befriending it, watching it do what it does and let it break your heart. So when we talk about your inner child, you don't have a little inner child running around in you. No, what's happening is you're caught in neural pathways that were laid down when you're a child. They're constantly being reactivated. They're part of that network, which is why so much mindfulness has come into focus as we've looked at PTSD. If we didn't have the work of Bessel van der Kolk, we wouldn't have the resurgence of mindfulness training that we've gotten, because we see we've got this traumatized brain that will not forget the past. It won't allow us to forget the traumas we've experienced and constantly reactivates it. So when we say a wise relationship to our mind, what we mean is to have compassion for that part. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's doing exactly what it was supposed to do to protect us over millions of years of evolution. The problem is that part of our brain, once we're stuck in it, can only see threat. And we'll deal with this next week in more detail about how that happened. But to begin to see, when I'm in the present moment, the alarms it's sounding are not relevant. It's not even relevant. The degree of anxiety that it creates isn't even relevant in our society, because we're not dependent on hunter-gatherer bands for our survival. So learning to anchor ourselves in the safety of our breath, the safety of the present moment, while all the alarm systems, so think of it as your alarm system going off. In your house, I've got a thing where you open my front door, it says front door and stair window, a voice talks to me, okay? It's telling me someone's breaking into your house through the front door or the stair window. Well, I never confuse that for me, people. I never take it seriously because I know I've just triggered that. I understand what's happening. So I'm not getting alarmed. It's the way we need to be in relationship to this alarm system. It's like, thank you very much, but there's nothing happening I need to pay attention to. Okay. Then it doesn't stop because of some glitch, it keeps going. Okay. Then we learn to just sit with it. Okay. I can't reassure it. There's nothing I can do to placate it, but I don't have to let it dominate my field of awareness. So that's where we zoom out and go, yes, the alarm's going off and the birds are singing. And that's where the equanimity comes in, is the both and. Yeah, that's happening. It's not particularly relevant, can't shut it off. I'm here. I'm going to anchor in the breath, anchor in the present moment. It says we step out of our identification. Conflicts of the mind, we let go of our identifying with them. We need to step back from all the stories of the mind, the conflicts, the opinions, our thoughts that never end. As the Buddha said, and I love this, people with opinions just go around bothering one another. When we see the mind's very nature is to think, to divide, and to plan, we can release ourselves from its iron grip and come to rest in the body and the heart. The mind thinks of itself as separate. The heart knows better. As one great Indian master, Sri Nisargadatta, put it, the mind creates the abyss and the heart crosses it. The mind creates the abyss and the heart crosses it. So Linnell found all this stuff is coming to me this week. Linnell sends me this quote from Rumi that I've never heard, and every quote from Rumi I've never heard is a gift of infinite value to me. He says, stop the words now. Open the window in the center of your chest and let the spirits fly in and out. Okay? I love that. Stop the words. We give them way too much importance. Way too much importance. And we're beginning to find that there are ways of relating to the world and gathering information through the heart, through other organs of the body. As a matter of fact, the more we look at the other brains, your gut brain, your heart brain, we find that this is not even the most dominant brain. Your heart sends more messages to this brain than this brain does to this brain. And yet we become almost have a fetish for words, a fetish for thoughts. We worship them. We love the elegantly turned phrase. And we totally ignore the infinite capacity for engagement with the world and receiving information, that attuning to our bodies and to these energetic centers that we call the chakras can bring that information in for us and process not at the level of words. And you say, well, what does it mean to experience not at the level of words? The way looking at something beautiful like an ocean can give you a full body experience of connection and awe. And the minute you ask, what does it mean? That connection totally dissolves, okay? And see the truth of that heartfelt connection, that spiritual connection breaks with words. So it's not that words don't have their place. They do definitely have their place. We need to use them carefully, but they're not the place to stop, okay? They need to be used with caution and sparingly, just like meat in your diet. It's okay to eat occasionally, but don't make it the main focus of your diet. Same with these things. Okay, that's Woody down there slowly coming into focus.
And at those moments, you have no words
That's right. And
to
don't need them.
describe. We were on the stage last week, and during the solo, the pianist, I was just dripping tears, but there would be no words to describe that feeling of the music and the beauty of it. Yeah.
And I'll show you where words are important. I saw a little video, and you all may have seen it, of a blind man who's got a sign that says, "I'm blind, can you help?" He's got a little tin cup out front. And this young woman, probably in her early 20s, comes by and picks up his whiteboard and starts erasing it and writes something else on it. And the man's feeling her foot so he can recognize her if she shows up again. And so she leaves. She doesn't really say anything. And all of a sudden, money just starts pouring in. People are throwing their change in, they're stuffing bills in his can. So she comes back the next day, and he feels her foot and says, oh, it's you. He says, "I was curious, what did you write on the board?" She said, "I wrote pretty much the same thing that you did. I just rephrased it." And so it pans around, and you look at what she wrote on the board, and what she wrote was, "Today is a beautiful day, and I can't see it." Isn't that where we all live? Today is a beautiful day, and I can't see it. So that's why we sit, to remove the veil between us and the world. Okay? So close your eyes if you want. There's no need to go outside for better seeing. Let your awareness settle into the breath. Anchoring in the flow of sensations. And what we know is that the very action that you're taking now activates the monkey mind. That's why it's called the default position, because it doesn't become active until you stop doing everything else. And so, as you watch the flow of the breath, let go of all compulsive meaning making. What you're watching emerge is your mind's play and activities designed to keep you safe by jumping into the past, to devise strategies, looking forward, to anticipate problems, remembering difficult situations, trying to create a narrative for your life. And as you sit here, keep remembering I'm safe, I'm protected. Watching how initially there's a flood of thoughts crowding to get your attention. Without engaging them, acknowledge them. And allow them to be present without resistance. Letting go of any sense that what you're looking at is you. What you're watching is your brain's unconscious activity. And with the same active curiosity and alertness, allow yourself to be present for the show. If you become lost in a storyline, gently bring yourself back to the breath, back to just witnessing the thoughts. Breathing in space, allowing the thoughts to float freely. Exhaling and reminding yourself to let go. any effort to make anything happen. And if you're lucky, you may begin to catch spaces between the thoughts where there's awareness but no thought. Without trying to create that, just note it. And notice that thoughts emerge out of the silence without any volition on your part, no will, no intention. These are not thoughts you're generating, they're thoughts that the brain is generating. Perhaps you'll be able to see the wave-like pattern of thoughts as they emerge, build in intensity, and if you leave them alone, they decay, dissolve back into the emptiness, back into the silence. You need to notice the voices of the thoughts and notice how many times you've had this thought or one just like it. Seeing directly the repetitive quality of unintentional thought. See if you can feel how some thoughts have shenpa, have a stickiness to them that wants you to do something, a compulsion. And this compulsion arises, whether it's an urge to scratch, to look at your phone, to see how much time there is left in the meditation. Just notice how strong, how much energy it can generate. As you watch, notice the impermanence of everything you're watching. Bodily sensation, emotion, thought, external stimuli, all arising in the same field of awareness. And all impermanent. The script writing itself while you watch. Beginning to see the minute sensations, feelings, and thoughts. There's a screen between you and reality, rewriting the same script over and over. And begin to glimpse behind it at the vastness of awareness in which it's all unfolding. arising and dissolving from emptiness into emptiness. From peace into agitation and back into peace. Expansion, contraction, no effort. Simply life unfolding as it is. It reminded me, Brad, of sitting with Vasavana. We would go over to his house on Friday nights and meditate. The meditations were a little different. They're more free form. And we would wait till people would pop out and everybody would be sitting around with a grin on their face like there were two tokes over the line. Somebody would get up and make some tea and then we would talk. And he would do Dharma talks. One of the first ones I remember was of thoughts being like ripples on a lake, and that if you try to resist the ripples, that you only make more ripples going in the opposite direction. And that if you want this agitation of the mind to stop, then stop trying to control it. The more you try to control it, the more agitation you create. And he liked that wave analogy of things arising, building in a peak and then disappearing. And that form, that poem about things, and again, it's a poem, it's not a scientific description, has been relevant for 5,000 years, is why it continues to be taught, because it lets us enter into this process of with a little better relationship. So, what y'all got? Questions, comments? They're all blissed out. Love y'all. See you next week. No, I'm kidding.
Wait.
Someone's going to have something.
That was a beautiful meditation that was particularly meaningful to just a good overview of everything I struggle with now, which is my mind, which goes in whirlpools, and the vortex of the whirlpools were old traumas plus old inspirations, but I just realized I was gonna ask my son for my Mother's Day present, to listen to this
Ah,
meditation with me. It was so important to me. Thank you.
well, thank you, Sherry. Yeah, and I like that vortex, because some of these places have such an energetic pull uh, because of the amount of pain associated with them that it can get
Mm.
activated. And Linnell knows with me, she'll just make a comment, and it can be as simple as I've cleaned the counter, and she goes back behind me and cleans it again. And
Yeah.
immediately I'm back in my childhood with my mother always going, that's not good enough. That's not good enough, and coming behind and correcting everything. And so now I've got all this shame. I'm in a shame spiral.
Yeah.
Um, I feel all this unworthy, and she's going, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going, that's it. So
Yeah.
often in our interactions, we don't understand. It doesn't matter what the other person means or intend. It's simply an occasion for these old scripts to get reactivated and send us back down. So learning how to recognize what's happening and
Mm.
get ourselves back in present reality is it's so important, particularly with us with traumatic past, uh, to learn how to extricate ourselves from those abysses.
What came up for me is that, and it's just like Sherry said, that was so meaningful to her. The mind going off, and then that awareness and coming back to the space, and it was meaningful for me. And therefore, it's meaningful for all of us. We're all experiencing the same thing. And and that's why this group and practicing together is so powerful, is that we're all having the same experience. So it's not my brain.
Yep.
It is the brain, and it's affecting us all.
Brad, thank you. That's a
I heard a good quote yesterday. It says, "Don't let your mind become the quicksand of your soul."
I love
That
that.
was good.
Yep. Yep. And overcoming that, they said often we think of it as our mind, and it's not of your personal mind. And another field that's emerged is what we're calling evolutionary psychology, and that is that so many of the things that we think of, like codependency, as being a disorder, are actually devices that meaningfully related our brains to living in tribal societies. So the more we understand about how our brain evolved, and that's what I'm talking about next week, is the people who didn't have paranoid brains got eaten. Nature selected for paranoid brains that were hyper aware of their surroundings and able to anticipate potential threats and stay alive. That's what we've got instead of claws and teeth, is that we've got a really hyper alert paranoid brain. So if you beat yourself up for that, no, hell, you would have been a superstar. If you were all naked and afraid and having to forage for food and safety on a daily basis, the same way with the ADD brain. It's perfectly adapted to hunting and gathering, and not good at sitting in a classroom uh, understimulated. So it's an organ we really need to understand so we quit beating ourselves up because it functions like
Yeah.
it does, and that we've had a psychology which pathologized the functionings of the brain. ADD does not become a disorder until you ask a kid to sit still in a classroom for 3 straight hours without getting up or talking. Then all of a sudden it's a disorder. Put them on a playground, there's no disorder. Does that
But
make
what I
sense?
with, yes, but what I struggle with not beating myself up about the hyperactive alert brain is when that hyperactive alert brain, I don't let myself sleep
No,
because of the hyperactive brain. I'm not able to trust and just fall into a nice sleep for a long time. It's just alert. It's just, what's that sound? What's that? Or, and
okay. So again, you said, I don't let myself sleep. No, your brain does not let you sleep. Okay.
The brain.
The
Back to
brain.
that.
Yep. My brain, we all got a brain. Anybody have a brain that sits and chatters at some nights and won't let you sleep? Because it's hanging on to the anxiety. Now, understand, once you think that thought that I'm under threat, the adrenaline is not going to go away right away. Okay, it's going to stay in your body and take a while to decay. So, adrenaline is like taking pure speed. So, what you begin to notice is not only is it that I get scared, but that state begins to draw other scary thoughts to it. So when I'm mad at Linnell, all I think is, well, you never do this and you never do that. That's the only thoughts I can think when I'm angry. When I'm not angry, I can think of all the wonderful things she does and how grateful I am to have her in my life. But that's what we call trans-specific thoughts. I can only have that stuff. So being able to catch that brain, and what I'd recommend that you do is to do a yoga nidra. What a yoga nidra does is by anchoring your brain in your body. And this is what I mean by smart relationship to your body. I realize I'm not able to sleep. Well, don't just sit there and try to get rid of the thoughts, which is only going to frustrate you and aggravate the situation. Turn on a yoga nidra. Now there's a voice out here that's going, all right, draw your awareness to your brow point. Now to the pit of your throat, and you're going, okay. Now to right shoulder, bit of the right elbow. And so you're gone, you begin, oh, I feel my body, right thumb, right finger. Okay, you start going through all these points. I'm anchoring in the present moment. I'm anchoring in the body sensations. We put you in an MRI and watch the monkey mind go offline. Okay, now what have I accomplished? I've accomplished not generating new adrenaline. I'm not hitting the adrenaline pump. It's allowing the old adrenaline to decay. Okay, the more it starts to decay, the more I anchor in peace, the more different set of neurotransmitters begin to come on board. Okay, so that finally, when people try to sit through a yoga nidra initially, the person who taught Linnell used to say, it's okay if you fall asleep. I'm going, no, it's really not okay if you fall asleep. As the Swami says, stay alert, remind yourself, I will be alert through the whole meditation, but you will fall asleep. It's that powerful, okay? That powerful tool. So if you can't do that, you don't have that, turn on binaural beats. Binaural beats integrate your hemispheres. It gets you out of the thought center of your brain and into a different center of your brain. Begins to integrate the two, and you begin to calm down. So these brain hacks, that's the genius of the era we live in. Okay. So Bentley just got to watch her nephew graduate from law school. She's on an island in the middle of the Mediterranean. And where is he? South Carolina or something?
yeah, University of South Carolina.
Okay, and then here we are in an age where with your damn phone and what science has done, it's taught us 100 ways to hack your brain and turn the monkey mind offline. That's what I mean by become a student of your brain. Learn how to skillfully bring it back into a measure of control that we can have, which is it'll enable you to allow it to shut up. It'll shut up on its own, but it creates a better environment for it. Does that make any sense?
And just the breath. It doesn't have
The
to
breath.
be anything generated by your phone.
Absolutely.
That quote that I had this week, I think I sent you that one too. We are never more than a breath away from the home we share with life.
Wow.
We are never more than a breath away
And that's
from home.
that's where the wisdom teaching. Okay, you hear these things that your wisdom mind is present even in this chaotic moment. What does that mean? What it means is the ventral part of your nervous system, the centers that you activate when you're in meditation are still there. They ain't going anywhere. Just because your ass crazy as a shithouse rat doesn't have wisdom there for access. It's just learning how to make the connection between the chaos and that place of peace. Okay, how do I skillfully navigate my nervous system back to this place? So it's nothing you have to create. You don't have to be a saint. You don't have to go away for 50 years to meditate. That's the beauty of what's happening.
Well, if we were in the Baptist church that I grew up in, I would be saying, "Amen, brother," because this is just exactly where I am. Coming out of about a 4-month trance, finally, after my daughter had her baby, and I was sharing with Bart that I had been so triggered that even the dog's toenail on the wood floor would cause my heart to race. And at least that I recognized that.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so triggered, and it took going to the farm, and I mean, I literally did absolutely nothing. I laid in the bed, and it took that, but at least it happened. At least I started realizing that was what was happening, and I'm glad about that. I'm glad about that. I'm grateful for that, and I love this group. I'm just very happy.
I love you too, Beth. And you know, this is another thing that sometimes the teachings don't seem real to us because we're in such a continuous state of trance that there's no contact, no contrast. And the beauty of finally falling into a peaceful state is the next time you constrict, you can feel it. You know, it's like when you get a massage and all of a sudden you feel what it feels like for your body to be, and then you realize that you're doing this, and you go back. So I had someone, I came in, he came in, laid him down on the table, and his shoulders were literally this far off the table, and he couldn't feel it. So I took a picture of it, and he goes, "Wow." And then I worked on his traps a little bit and on his pecs, took a picture, and they were back down. And he said, "Oh my God, oh my God. I didn't know his shoulders could do that." And then comes in the next week, and guess where his shoulders are?
Yeah.
By your body reestablishing these patterns. And it's a slow practice. It's not a quick fix. It's years of reprogramming your body. Remember last week we talked about the disorder that our bodies are in. And what we're gradually through awareness doing is replacing those dysfunctional programs that we've programmed into our body into one that's more healthy, which is why Linnell and Ayurveda, that emphasis on repetition, that emphasis on having a plan for your day, not just wandering around being driven by your monkey mind, but eating at certain times, sitting down, meditating at a certain time. It has benefits. So anyhow, we need to let people go. People are zipping out. Any burning bushes or burning desires? Okay, Omi.
All right.
For anybody new, with Tim's passing, we have replaced the COVID raspberry for a while, at least with the Tim Johnson, wow, at the end.
Let's go.
So let's do
breath
it.
in.
Are you ready?
Mhm.
You ready?
Wow.
Bravo.
Feels so good to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can hear, I can hear him. I can hear him.
I can hear him too.
It feels so good to do that. Wow.
We all hear him.
Oh, God.
You know, I wanted to say, and I'm waiting till the end, because I know it's gonna make me cry. I was telling someone the other day about the Sangha and about how many of you are in Colorado. And someone said to me, "Oh, so you're gonna get to meet those people."
Yeah.
It didn't occur to me until they said that I'm gonna be in the same space with some of you soon. And
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for all of you.
And we're going to get to put our arms around you and
Yeah.
hug you and love on you. And I can't wait.
Me too. Me too.
Hope we get to meet Channy.
I know.
Some of us are going to get to meet each other for the first time.
I know.
Right.
Well,
Y'all know that I'm
physically
here.
at least. Physically at least.
Absolutely.
So I made arrangements to come too, so I'll see you all. Yay.
Hey, great, Pam.
It's magic.
Yeah, it is. Boy, Tim
My dad
really
and I-
brings us together, didn't he?
Dad and I talked a lot about, you know, we would often call each other after Sangha and talk more. You know, "Oh, what did you think about what so and so said?" And we often talked about how beautiful it would be to be together.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'll
I love
tell you
you guys.
what, I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but we're going to be in town for a few days. Tom has a group that he meets with. Channy does some stuff. So it might be possible for us to move around if you're in town and sit with each other and sit with each other's groups, which would be fun too.
Yeah.
So that's how we met Tim, was at a yoga studio.
It was an online, it was during COVID, and Alice's yoga teacher offered an online meditation. And he attended, and Tim attended. He was also a yoga student of Hansa. And that's how we connected. He said, "Oh, you do this every week?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was
I gotta
signed
do
up.
this."
Didn't hear about Father Kennedy before us, and he signed up for that. So
I know it.
an active seeker. That was
Yes.
interesting because it was a Valentine's Day workshop on opening the heart, and
Oh,
we
it
had
was
to
at
bring
Hans.
a
Yeah.
love poem to
Right.
share our favorite love poem.
So appropriate.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was.
Okay. Was the start of something big.
Yeah. I
Well,
love you guys. I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Take care.
Have a good week, everyone. Bye.
Great week.